Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Newsmakers Podcast. You might be able to hear this in the background. We're at the AHR Expo in Orlando, and you can't come to the AHR Expo without talking refrigerants. And we're going to do that with two of Chemours' finest. We have Graham Pratt and Christina Spalding. Thanks for joining us, folks.
Yeah,
Thanks,
you.
Kyle.
Yeah. Now, for any members of our listening audience here that are maybe not familiar with your company, just kind of give us the elevator pitch of who you are, and then also why you find it so important to be here at the AHR Expo, which, you know, kind of the Super Bowl for the HVAC industry, right?
Yeah, good question, Kyle. Thank you very much for having us here today. As you mentioned, my name's Graham Pratt. So Chemours, just as a backdrop, we are about 10 years old. We spun out of DuPont back in 2015, and we have three businesses, and I'll touch upon the refrigerants here in a second, but we focus on high-performance polymers. We focus on titanium dioxide that goes into everyone's household paints, and then most importantly, why we're here today is to talk about our thermal and specialized solutions business, which is really our refrigerant business, where we've had a very strong market position over the last several decades. We make refrigerants, and that's why we're here today to discuss really, the transition into A2Ls.
It's a great segue to kind of focus in here on HVAC, and there's the numbers circulating. Approximately maybe 80% of the major air conditioning OEMs in the U.S. have selected R454B, which I'm sure makes you folks very happy. What does this rather significant adoption mean for the HVAC industry in general, and maybe your company and the contractors more specifically?
Yeah, I'll take that. It's Christina here. So, I think it really means the industry is really ready for this transition to lower global warming potential refrigerants, and that's GWP. We use that word all the time, and we'll slip in and out of it during this conversation. But, I think it's just an indication that the industry is prepared for the transition from 410A to 454B and A2L refrigerants. And for those that may or may not know, January 1, 2025 is really the cutoff date for producing 410A equipment. So the industry will be transitioning to new products, and 454B has the majority share of that in the U.S. market. And it's an A2L refrigerant, so it's slightly different from 410A, but it's also very similar in terms of how that product is used in those systems. So I think it's an indication that the industry's primed and ready to go for this transition.
Yeah, it feels like we've been talking about it for a while, and it's finally here. But you're saying the market's ready for it. Our listeners are mostly contractors. Do you find, by and large, they're ready? And if they're not ready, what should they be doing?
No, I think that's a great question. So it is a transition, and it's been quite a while since the industry transitioned from R22 to 410A. So it is a new opportunity, and it's new for some folks. But I think one of the things that's been really positive in terms of not just Chemours' interactive activity with our customers is, this all started with OEM connections and, defining what the parameters were for the equipment and speccing in product solutions. But over the last year and a half, 18 months, we've really, as an industry, been working with our distributors and with our contractors on training and getting them ready for this transition. So over the course of, the last 2 years, it's been a slow stretch and a slow bleed rather into the market and preparing them. I think over the course of the last 6 months, I think the amount of activity and the amount of training and preparedness has really increased pretty significantly. So I'd like to say everyone is on board and geared up for that change.
I would agree. I feel like there's a lot of information, a lot of misinformation too. I feel like we're all kind of pulling in the same direction. What are your recommendations on contractors and how do they communicate this, let's say, with homeowners?
Well, I think generally speaking, the first step is be familiar with the regulations, understand refrigerant management. Contractors will be able to get training from their distributors, from refrigerant suppliers like Chemours. In terms of homeowner communication, it's very similar to the products they're using today with 410A, and the equipment is designed to be safely used with these A2L refrigerants.
And I would add that, as equipment becomes more available on the market, it's going to be a natural conversation for the contracting community because, as 410A kind of decreases, the conversation is naturally going to move to the 454B refrigerants.
Yeah. And obviously for contractors, reclaim is very important too. Would you agree in that regard too?
Yeah, it's part of the standard refrigerant management practice is reclamation. Mm-hmm.
So what can we expect in terms of commercial refrigeration in the A2L transition?
Yeah, I'll take that one to start. So, there's been a lot of focus on air conditioning because, again, January 1, 2025 is the date for the AC transition. January 1, 2026 is when commercial refrigeration will start being required to move away from incumbent refrigerants. The good news is we have products that are already commercialized for that space. We talked about 454B in the air conditioning space. We have two products that support the commercial refrigeration space, 454A and 454C. And 454A is a product with a GWP below 300, so that meets the requirements. 454C is a product with a GWP of below 150. So for states like California that have tighter regulations, that product is acceptable for use in those states. Those products are commercial now. There are installations taking place today. The regulations don't require anyone to do that until 2026, but there are a lot of systems that are already in service. And much like 454B, these are A2L refrigerants, so they're going to be designed for new equipment. But you'll start to see those installations take place this year already. There have been several installations throughout the United States beginning as far back as 2023. For the contractors that service both air conditioning and refrigeration, they'll be a little bit ahead of the game because they're going to be doing installations with 454B. But again, those you'll start to see and hear more and more about that. And I think as folks walk the show, if they talk to OEMs that are producing condensing units, they'll see that they're also preparing for this transition on the commercial refrigeration side.
In fact, we just had a successful case study in Nogales, Arizona, with the 454C in the new equipment, and we're already seeing a very positive impact, both from an efficiency standpoint and a total cost of ownership. And so I think the market's going to start to see that, and you'll see the transition actually accelerate.
Okay, that's great. Because I'm going to ask, obviously we're here at the ACHR Expo in 2025, but feel like we were just in Chicago, a few months ago, 2024. So 2026 isn't that far in advance. So what should contractors on the commercial side, kind of same question I asked on the residential side, be preparing to make sure they're, all their ducks are in a row when this happens?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to understand what the regulations are, and to seek out training. And again, just as Chemours and our distributor partners have done with the air conditioning transition, we're training folks in the commercial refrigeration space. So I would encourage anyone to reach out to their local distributor, and whether it's through their distributor partner or through industry organizations like Hardy, all these opportunities will present themselves. And of course, they can always reach out to Chemours, and we can help them with that training too. Yeah,
I was going to, great way to end up here. I'm sure your website has a plethora of information on this topic. Where should we be sending people if they just want to learn a little bit more?
They can go to www.opteon.com, or they can go to the Chemours website, which is chemours.com, and reach the Opteon site from there.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much for your time. Very informative.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. Appreciate it.